Hello, Rob. Welcome to Redmen TV. Liverpool take on Crystal Palace at Anfield this weekend. Chris Pajak, John Machin and Tom Dutton join me for this one. Chris, Hodgson, Roy. Well, no.
Yes.
No, I've made my peace with Roy Hodgson. I vowed never to be horrendously disrespectful to him after the job that Crystal Palace did on Man City earlier on in the season.
Not enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, look, he teeters. I'll be perfectly honest. He teeters on the brink at any given moment. All joking aside, and not really, because we'll doubtless go big on Hodgson again many times throughout the show. He did do us a massive favour against Man City. It was a real bolt from the blue, that win.
He needs to do us another favour and then I'll forgive him.
Exactly. That should
roll over and let us dick them.
Yeah. I mean, look, if nothing else, that should be fair warning to us about this game, is that we're looking at this clutch of fixtures and kind of hoping that we're just going to get through, we're just going to get back into the habit of just winning games and what have you. The proof is there. If you look at Crystal Palace, there's nothing there to suggest really that Liverpool should have a great deal of problem with them at Anfield, etc. However, they went and got a very good result against Man City.
And they will do that. But you've mentioned it on the notes there. They are where they are by beating teams that are worse than them. Generally speaking, now obviously Man City aren't worse than them, and they got a result there.
Dad Milner likely to play right back. I know Trent's out for a month, but hopefully less than that. But he's definitely out for the weekend. I think I'm right in saying this. David Maddock had kind of intimated that Klopp's kind of okay with the Milner thing because he really likes James Milner. And I think we're starting to see when we change the 4-2-3-1, Milner doesn't really suit any.
He's still not played in it, I don't think.
Yeah, or at least not. I don't think
we've shifted to a 3 when I think he's come on the field.
Yeah, or he's played. He's played
might
in
be 5
isolation
minutes or something.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fine. He can play full back, no problem. So it's not a big deal. I think it's a big deal in the long term. I certainly don't want Milner covering for our two fullbacks. I think we need to buy fullbacks to cover. So but that's obviously for the summer.
Yeah.
But now Milner's fine.
But particularly given where we're at, and he was asked, I think, in the press conference of the week about the importance of Milner. And it's not like he, just having someone there who carries that gravitas and at that weight. It's not like he sat down, he's got his own little office, and there's a queue of everyone absolutely bricking it in the squad who were just taking turns to go with for Milner counselling sessions. But he clearly likes him. He clearly likes that influence. And look, he's there on merit, Milner, isn't he? But at the minute, is he better option for the midfield too than a Henderson, a Gini?
If you're gonna play, your choice at right back must be Fabinho or Milner. You would have thought
possibly Camacho.
And yeah, possibly Camacho. But I mean, Fabinho for me needs to be playing in midfield. Yeah. You need to capitalise on that and build on what he's done so far. And we all know what Jimmy Milner gives us. So leaving him, fullback.
I think just going back to your point earlier on, about his influence and stuff. Remember those videos from the first day of pre-season when Naby Keita's running around and they're doing the laps and James Milner just has them all off.
Yeah.
And you've got to be looking at going, this lad's won the league twice. I think I'm right in saying, and he's older than all of us. And he's first day of pre-season. He's blitzing Naby Keita, who we've just signed for 50 million on the laps of Melwood and stuff, and you got to go, this lad's done it. This lad knows what kind of hard work you've got to put in to go and win a league title. And that is a thing.
In addition to that, you've got to get who's putting that in. It makes sense to find a place for him in the team off the back of that, because
he'd be there on merit as well.
Exactly, and this is the point with Milner. Maybe where we're at though in terms of the formation, because I don't think we have a better option really at right back, do we? Everyone can say Fabinho, but I think my dad's dead right on that. Fabinho is shown real signs, Tom, of being better and better. The more he plays, the better he gets for us. We can see his versatility, and Chris and I are going to discuss this in more detail about him on the podcast this week. But he, at the minute, because of where we're at in terms of injuries, who would your choice? Would you rather have Milner in midfield and Fabinho right back? Or
for me, you look at the options we've got. It's Milner, it's Fabinho, it's Camacho. If you're looking at all of them, we don't know what Fabinho's game is at right back in terms of an offensive sense. You don't know what it is. Defensively, I'm sure he's brilliant.
Yeah.
fantastic. Camacho, in an attacking sense, you know, he's brilliant. He likes to maraud up the right wing that we need him to do in that position. Defensively, bit suspect at Wolves, albeit in a makeshift defence. You look at Milner, he did it for us at left back for the longest time, and he was a massive influential part of that team. I think in terms of an attacking sense, he's brilliant in terms of passing with the ball at his feet, brilliant. He knows where he needs to be in this team, in this shape. He knows where he needs to be in terms of cover, because he covers for Robbo at his left back, but he covers for Robbo all the time when Robbo's all the way up there. He is the perfect makeshift person in there, but like John says, you can't be relying on this. But then we're getting Gomez back soon, so Gomez is going to slot it right back.
If he's our third choice right back, then that's a wonderful situation, or a third choice, second to third choice left back, because what he does in that position, he does largely what Trent does, or he has the ability to do what Trent does, because he's got a great delivery on him, he's got a great intelligence, he's got great calmness on the ball, he's got a good range of passing. He's just Trent but slower, you know. That's maybe what you're losing out on. That is the only area of concern when you come against Crystal Palace, Chris, is that we've seen Trent struggle and be targeted. Zaha's caused him problems. Just having that sheer pace, Crystal Palace would probably be not rubbing their hands together per se, but you know, if fullback's definitely a position where we've been getting targeted. Some teams have had joy, some teams haven't had joy. Zaha would fancy himself, I think, up against.
Yeah, he would, but it depends on what type of a game you're going into, doesn't it? I think if Liverpool are on the front foot, it's probably not Milner's job to be covering that space. At that point, it might be a Fabinho's job to be back there, and he's got the pace to be able to deal with that. If Crystal Palace build up, then Fabinho should be over there to help him out regardless, you know what I mean? I can't imagine that Milner will be the one getting caught in a foot race with Zaha, is what I'm trying to say. But if he's further up the field, someone's job will be there.
There's one thing you know for sure, that Zaha will know he's in a game if he comes up against Milner.
Yeah.
Milner's going to hit him.
He'll be in the stands within 5.
Milner was going to put him in the stands in the first 5 minutes, absolutely undoubtedly, because he knows that's part and parcel of the job.
How do you reckon they're going to line up though? Because if you look at how they lined up against City, it was 4-5-1 with Zaha in the 10. So I'm expecting they're coming to Anfield. We're the second best attack in the league, are we? They're not going to come here and be open as a 4-3-3. I'm not going to expect that.
No, it's a
4-5-1 that will go to a 4-3-3 and counter you.
With Max Meyer on the left, and then. But like I say, with City, Zaha was there, and like second half he was flagging massively. I just don't think he's really.
I mean, you know, it is an interesting approach, and again, maybe the fullback thing offers them a modicum of encouragement. They're in a weird position, aren't they? I think they're 14 to 4 points behind Brighton, but they're not clear of relegation, but they're clearly better than the teams who are properly mired in the relegation stuff. But they're also not good enough to be at the top end of that middle clutch. Because I mean, literally, they're at the bottom end of the middle clutch of teams. You know, they're 10 points, I think, behind 7th. So that's you know, there's a few teams that harbour those ambitions. They're not in amongst it. You're right, though, Chris. It has the ability. I think they've played Jordan Ayew up front recently, flanked by Townsend and Zaha, but that's very easily just those guys just come and sit in on the wider side of the midfield, don't they?
Yeah, I think it's great worrying about what Crystal Palace do, and you would have to if you're Jurgen Klopp. But as a Liverpool fan, I'm thinking, you know what, we've got better players. We can build up through the phases, we can attack them, we can score goals against them, and that's our first job.
And they've got Speroni in as well, so just get shots in
Is
on
that
goal.
the case? Because I saw the Echo made a big deal about this. Like this, the man who's going to be stopping is the oldest man in the league, is Julian Speroni. Wayne Hennessy came on for Gaeta at off the bench. So I mean, neither of them are great goalkeepers, but Wayne Hennessy is one of them, isn't he? That's Speroni maybe to some extent. Is that I hear Wayne Hennessy and I go, I should be like, wait, it's Wayne Hennessy in goal. I'm not. I just have visions of men pulling ludicrous saves out of their arse to deny Liverpool. So, I mean...
It was all over the news. I mean, we reported on it yesterday, and I'm guessing that it's from a reputable source. If it was everywhere, but you never know.
Good to see you source the news.
Yeah.
Well there.
Echo Live blog.
They said that they were both injured.
Interesting.
I mean, the thing about Palace is you can almost throw form out the window, because they're just an odd team for us, aren't they? Yeah. You just don't know whether they're going to give us a game or they're going to roll over.
Dad, they've only scored 20 goals in 22 in the league this season.
And 3 against
City. They scored 3 of them against Manchester City. Tells you that everything.
You couldn't get them to score those goals again if you saved your life.
Well,
Townsend's goal was like a 1 in a million years.
But that's Townsend all over, isn't it? And that's what they've got. We were talking about it yesterday in conversation. We were talking to a Palace fan, as you saying it was. Zaha's not in great goal scoring form at all. You've got Christian Benteke who's coming back now. We know what his goal scoring performance has been like. We know as much about him as you can know about a player, really. At both
well, what we
ends
don't know is why he always scores against us and no one else.
Well, yeah. Hopefully that was predominantly for Aston Villa, of course. But they shouldn't be able to do these things, but the Man City game is exactly what I'm talking about. They've got lads. Andros Townsend is the perfect example of a lad who you cannot legislate for because he can just pick a ball up on his weaker foot and blam it in the top bin, and you're a goal behind.
He's one of those guys you don't know what his weaker foot is.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. And defensively against City, he was once he'd scored that goal, obviously it bolstered him. Him covered him for Wan-Bissaka on that right-hand side. He was unbelievable. Stopped pretty much anything City wanted to do.
Palace is one of Klopp's early games where it went awry, wasn't it? And he was livid at it, and I don't think he ever forgot it.
That was one where he talked about it, when everyone left early, when we were getting beaten, he never felt so alone and all that stuff, so he does hate Crystal Palace.
He does, yeah. He did say a few choice words about them, didn't he? So I don't think he's under any illusions about what's going to happen. So
you'd like to hope. And we've been lucky in so much because that Liverpool we're not undefeated, and we haven't been undefeated. We've lost games now. We've lost games in every competition that we've played in. Losing games in the cups though seem to have given us a little bit of a kick up the arse along the way, because the Man City game can always go either way. But you'd like to hope that the little flutter that we had with the Wolves game was enough to let everyone know. You just can't afford to take your eyes off the ball.
No, but we've been so good at home, haven't we? I think there's a confidence that we carry now. Anfield truly is a fortress again. Teams fear going there, and teams play differently against us when we're at Anfield and when we're at their place. And I think rightfully so. I think we've dominated teams from start to finish in most of the games, going up near 70% possession against a lot of teams in this league. And we are imposing our will, not just on the teams that we play, but on the league as a whole. Right now, we've only had poor results against any of the top 5, 6, 4, maybe, is it? Yeah. Chelsea, Manchester City.
Was it that we're unbeaten against the bottom the 16, is it?
We're not just unbeaten, we've beaten them all.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference now, isn't it? And every team's coming into Anfield and going, how do we get out of here with a point? Because it's so difficult. Yeah. And we might talk about Crystal Palace and all of their great points that they've got and great players that they've got, but they're going in fearing us, and that is an advantage to us.
You're right. In terms of Roy Hodgson's mentality, you can't see any world other than them doing everything in their power to stop us from scoring a goal. This, for me, we'll do score predictions, but this has got that game. This game has got so many games over down the years. We've seen this. You Stokes and whatever, where if we get a couple of early goals, I think we can absolutely wipe the floor with them. If not, we're going to have to be patient, and it might be a bit more like Brighton. It might be like those games at Huddersfield last year.
The beauty of us this season is that it doesn't seem to phase us if we don't score early. Yeah. We've missed loads of chances, and we still carry on. And that word mature came out last week against Brighton. Suddenly people are saying, this team actually are really difficult to beat. Mm-hmm. And not just that, they're patient. They'll wait, and then they'll score. And they'll steal the 3 points off.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we're going to do preferred 11s in a second. Before we do, let's have a little look at a fantastic piece of content that went up on the redmentv.com this week. It's Chris sat down in the ultimate crossover with the Anfield Raps and Neil Atkinson on the Newsroom podcast.
But these things are all, it's all on, as I say, it's all on like one large graph. But I think that's what's at the core of all this. And then it becomes, we don't want you enjoying yourself. And I think there's something else as well with Liverpool. And we need to remember we feel it. We feel it with United in that there's a huge number of supporters around the country who had childhoods ruined by how good Liverpool were.
Yeah.
And our childhood was ruined by how good United were.
Yep.
So when you see United, if United right now were 4 points clear at the top of the Premier League, you, me, we'd be thinking, oh no, here we go again. And that's exactly what's happening with us. So when we think, well, why isn't everyone wanting us to do, well, there was the Henry Winter piece about everyone should be behind Liverpool. Liverpool are doing this and Liverpool are doing this, and they're a club that's connected to the community, and they seem like good lads, and they're playing really good stuff, and they're up against this Man City side that are a behemoth now.
Cheating.
Yeah. Why isn't everyone behind Liverpool? The reason why is because everyone has a thing somewhere where they're thinking, if they win one, they can win three. If they win one, they can win three, and we can't stop them.
I get that, but is this passed down through generations then? Because a lot of, social media isn't our age.
No.
You know what I mean? They can be, I don't know how old a lot of people are on social media.
Of course it is. Football, the way you think about football, I do think that there is always something in the line about football DNA. Yeah, of course it's passed down. Of course it's there. It's present. It's not just the idea that people sort of saying stuff. It's this sort of folk memory. There's a really good story. Remember when Rush went to Newcastle?
Yeah.
And my lad who was in our school was at the game, and he was at the game with his brother, his older brother, and his older brother was 15 years older than him. And it was 60 minutes on the clock. And he said, and he went, tell you what, Rush has been quiet. And his older brother went, don't say that. Don't you say that. And then Rush turns, scores, Newcastle win 1-0. And he said his older brother was livid with him. Like, how dare you tempt the footballing gods of Ian Rush like that? I've lived a lifetime of putting up with this, and you've just said Rush is quiet. You never say Rush is quiet.
You can think it, but never verbalise.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get involved with that show and everything else that we've got going on. It is just £5 a month. There's a whole, a host of content in terms of visual and in podcast form as well. We actually had a little bit of feedback and stuff, and it turns out loads of people are getting on the uptake on the podcast stuff. So obviously, predominantly known for being video, for being YouTube and what have you. We've got that in spades. But again, if you need to pick up where you left off and go and get and listen to it in podcast form, you can do that stuff as well. It is free for the first month as well. So if you want to go and try it out, you can do. Get the full Newsroom podcast, get interviews with Liverpool players and managers, past and present, and every aspect of Liverpool Football Club covered top to bottom. Preferred 11s. Once again,
Short segments.
We've all gone for the same team again. Tom, for the sake of just being, it needs to go up on the screen. We'll get your wonderful smiling face up there and the team. The goalkeeper picks himself. Yeah. I think we're all judging this on the Matip was on the bench. He's likely to be available, and knowing that Gini Wijnaldum's out injured, it makes sense, Matip, to come back into this, Fabinho to go back into the midfield. Yeah,
the only thing really is Keita. Everyone else, this is the lineup, but Milner's got to go right back, Matip back in at centre back because you want a centre back, and Fabinho slots back in the midfield. I've done Shaqiri, Firmino, Mane, Salah as my 4, but I wanted to get Keita in there for some reason. I really want to see him playing, but then I don't like seeing him on the left. I want to see him centrally, but you can't take Firmino out of this team. You just can't do it because he's been so instrumental the past few games, and I don't want to stop that. I was contemplating a 4-2-2-2, but it's kind of the same anyway. But put Mane on the right and then Keita on the left, but then they both come centrally while the two wingers. And then,
it's an interesting thing though. That becomes the question, doesn't it, Chris? Of who if you bring Keita in, he still hasn't established himself in a 4-2-3-1, so we still don't know what the best option is. You're compromising a bit of something. You're compromising maybe a bit of stability if you put him in the 2. Maybe that's a decent point because we might not need that in this game if they're gonna sit back in. And again, you're gonna take Mane out of the team to put him on the left. No, you're gonna take Shaqiri out of the team. Possibly.
The only option I see it is, actually, funnily enough, me and Simon Brundish were having a chat on Twitter yesterday about a few things and, the difference between Liverpool and how they attack at Manchester City. And going back to it, and I think I said this probably a couple of months ago, is I'd like to see Keita in a 3-man midfield, but very much a 2 and a 1.
Okay.
So not as far forward as Roberto Firmino plays in that 10, running into that space in the way that Bobby runs back towards the ball, because I think that would give us the closest thing we've got to when Ox was in the side. Yeah. A guy who's willing to break the lines with the ball at his feet, and then in that scenario, Salah goes out to the right, Firmino plays the 9, and you've got Mane over on the left-hand side, and I think you get a little bit of the best of both worlds. Yeah. But I think you need a little bit of freedom as a manager to be able to play this. I don't think it's a Premier League must-win game. I think maybe that would have been tested in a cup competition, or maybe if you think you're playing, with the greatest of respect, Huddersfield at home. Yeah. Maybe you try something a little bit different, but because they're all so must-win now, I think he just goes with what he knows has been performing, and he's not dicking around.
We're playing at home against a team who almost certainly are going to defend and try and hit us on the break. So you can relax your sort of defensive element to your game. You don't need extra players in there to give you more strength. You need more flair players in there, and therefore Shaqiri, for me, would be nailed on just to add to the forwards.
The only note on that, and again, we've all picked the same team, but just as a point of note is that we've seen Shaqiri. We know Shaqiri wanes in games big times, and I'm just wondering whether this might be one where that option that Tom discusses, where maybe put Keita on the left, put Mane on the right, and you've got Shaqiri for the final half an hour, because alternatively, we might need the full 90 of this one. Again, this might well be one of those games. It shouldn't be, but it might be. And I think I can make a case for I'd rather Shaqiri enter the game than Keita come into it.
Enter Shaqiri, is that what we're saying?
that band, seeing that they've made it, they've started retweeting every single time someone makes that reference.
It's because it's a terrible joke.
Yeah, absolutely. And also they want to stay relevant because no one remembers them. What do you think to that, Dan?
Well, I can see it's an option, and clearly we need at some point to get Keita in the side, but I don't know, he's not there yet, so I don't think the time for experimenting it with your lineup is now.
Okay. No, that's fine. We'll take it
Which
to
is
heart.
a pity, because I really would like Keita in the side.
Nah, cool. Let's have a look at what everyone else is doing this weekend then. Obviously, we're playing Palace 3 p.m. on the Saturday. Also at that time, I've brought them back into the conversation because they're
Brighton, yeah.
Brighton. United take on Brighton.
I know they gave us a tough game,
Did you see that picture doing the rounds? 3 pictures of Solskjaer, 2 of them happy, and it's like 1-6 on the bounce, blah, 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 and then it's still 6th. The final. Arsenal-Chelsea, 5:30 kickoff is very interesting. As the battle for 4th really hots up there.
Away win.
That's do or die for Arsenal, really, I think, in terms of their I think that's last chance territory.
They've got a few issues off the pitch as well now, haven't they?
It's
serious, undermining Emery and all kinds of stuff at the moment.
Great. But
that technical director, I forget his name, he's gone, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was expecting to have a bit more control than he ended up with. Oh dear, Arsenal have put this wonderful structure in place to handle Wenger leaving, and it's all falling apart already. I shouldn't laugh, but I will. In terms of that, I think that's a closed shop for top 4. I think if Chelsea pick up the win there, again, unless the research at Man United continue. Huddersfield. What's interesting about this is it's another game week, Chris, where we play ahead of the nearest rivals. However, Man City travel to Huddersfield, managerless Huddersfield.
I think that's got home win route all over it. I think the players step. I think they're a free scoring side now, Huddersfield.
Imagine
Wagner's been holding them back.
Imagine if he was the Mourinho to the situation. They're going to get back in like
Moy.
No,
is he still there?
Yeah, he's still there. David Healy or something. No, he didn't play for them. There's a forward, the forward that they had that I always go that Matt from Bosses always goes on about, and I can't remember his name for the life of me. But yeah, just get some striker in that they love and everyone gets mad for it. Fulham host Tottenham in the 4 o'clock kickoff. So our nearest rivals, we get to put the pressure on once again by hopefully getting our 3 points on the board, but they do play the 2 worst teams in the league.
But then, Ryan Babel comes in and shows that Tottenham should have signed there as a backup striker for Kane.
Just drops in from the Babel copter to nod one in the last minute, to do that brilliant shimmy he did against, was it Derby County back in the day? He scored an absolute belter goal, and that was the story. Right?
Tottenham struggling for forwards.
That's a good point, actually.
Only got.
To be fair, I think Fulham are more likely to cause an upset there. They're at home. They've obviously got.
It's a derby, isn't it?
Spurs are a little bit thin on the ground. Obviously, Son's gone to the Asian.
Shayla's goal was fantastic the other week as well. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Unbelievable touch and finish. I'll be honest, I don't care about any of the rival fixtures anymore, because as long as we keep winning our games, I'm not asked. We're top of the table. And literally all we need to do is win every single game, which we're capable of doing.
You're glad you never went to him first on the rivals.
No.
I don't care about the segments.
I'm fine for the world where we get to sit down, have a bit of dinner, and sit down to watch the last half of Fulham battered and Spurs, to put them to end their title runs and throw them right back into the battle for 4th would be very nice indeed.
Snooker's on though, Paul. Forget about Fulham Spurs.
Yeah, all right. What is it?
don't know what on that day. So.
The Masters, the
Final on Sunday, there you go. I'm not asked about either of them games.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I like a bit of snuck in England. Yeah, great. Score predictions, Tom. What do you think it's going to be?
2-0. I think it's honestly going to be nervy for 60 minutes, but we're going to just get it done.
Okay. Dan?
1-0.
I'm going to say 2-0 as well, and I think we scored an early goal for us.
Cool. Interesting. I you know what? I've got this real feeling that these little speller games are going to be not like nervy per se, but just not exciting. No, not even that. Just a bit boring, and just you know, I think we'll probably a 1 or a 2. No, let's go 1-0 as well for the sake of it. Yeah, let us know your preferred 11s and score predictions in the comments below. Drop a like on the video, and as mentioned, if you want to get that full newsroom podcast with Neil Atkinson, you can do. Go and sign up to the redmentv.com. We shall see you there. Some absolute belter content on there. So yeah, go there, support what we do, and obviously don't ask you for nothing. We give you loads and loads of cool stuff off the back of that as well. Other than that, we'll be back post-match. We hope to see you all there. Thank you very much, gents. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, thank you for watching. See you all soon. Ta-ra.